Is the homeless community responsible for setting the fires in Los Angeles? It's a question a lot of people are like, well, of course they did. Do we have any proof? Well, we keep getting little bits and pieces from spokespeople, from fire department, from police department. We get little bits and pieces. We've got a few stories here that would lead one to believe, yep, that is probably a rational explanation. Let's get into it. Here we go.
We may never know who or what started the massive, devastating fires in Los Angeles, but at the very top of the suspect list sits a group known simply as the homeless. Of course, in Los Angeles, this actually means degenerate druggie who can commit just about any crime and get away with it. The reason this group is suspected is because they've been starting fires for years. Sit back and enjoy the fruits of their labor and understand why, every time a fire breaks out, the finger is immediately pointed at this group of people that city leaders refuse to do anything about.
There were two huge explosions, and then there was a pop, pop, pop.
Gene Rice lives just around the corner. Fire destroyed the tent where it started and destroyed everything around it. Just one of numerous tent fires recently in this same neighborhood.
We're all in danger.
The number of fires related to homeless people has been going up every year, nearly double the number last year compared to 2020.
They're actually evacuating.
Those fires often damage apartments and other buildings.
This dude's car is about to blow up, bro. What the?
Oh, wait, he just set it on fire? He set it on fire. He's got a gasoline tank.
Gas can.
Crimes? He's like, how good do I do a good job right there?
Terrible.
Chinatown residents at 8-7.
I mean, you get the idea. And you know what? It wasn't that long ago, and we had this little deal here. Do you remember when, I think it was Highway 118 into downtown Los Angeles, a few miles from downtown Los Angeles, was closed down because a homeless arsonist had lit on fire a whole bunch of pallets underneath the freeway. They had to close the freeway down. Remember that? Yeah, here we go.
In our press conference, we relayed that we would likely complete at 6 a.m. this morning the preliminary investigation as to the cause of the fire that led to the conditions you see behind me. The fire marshal, who will speak in a moment after the mayor and a number of other speakers, they finished that investigation up about 12 hours early, and they made a preliminary determination. There was malice intent that
Arson
fire occurred within the fence line of the facility you see behind me, that it was arson, and that it was done and set intentionally.
Whomever did that was homeless, and they are off and running. And they may not even know the amount of damage that they caused, right? Because they're crazy, or they're on drugs, or they're whatever. How about this one? So I know with the Los Angeles fires, a lot of the narrative has been, hey, it was a guy, we caught him. Then they didn't have enough to basically stick it on him that, one of the big fires was his fault. But, you've got a super dry environment, right? You built a city in the desert, especially like Pacific Palisades, going up into those foothills. It's super dry. Big winds, 100-mile-an-hour winds, and you don't, do adequate forestry management. You don't get rid of the brush. You don't do controlled burns. You don't do any of that. You've got just homeless people. I mean, California has the most homeless people of any state. Los Angeles has the most homeless of any city by far per capita. I mean, it is not out of reason to believe that these fires were set by a homeless dude. In fact, we've got a story here. Arsonist caught on camera setting fires in Santa Monica. California is drowning in an inferno of DEI mediocrity, true, and failure, true. And on top of that, it's literally burning to the ground. It's a horrific, nightmarish state of affairs with people and animals losing their lives and homes thanks to the gross negligence and DEI stupidity of so-called leaders and officials. Now, I don't think you can 90 mile or 100 mile an hour winds. there's not much you can do there, even with all the water in the world. I mean, those flames, those sparks, they're going to go where they're going to go, and they're going to light stuff on fire. Now, if you had more firemen, you didn't defund by $17.6 million. Okay. Didn't have enough training. Okay. But I think even if you didn't have a DEI, fighting force, yeah, you wouldn't have been able to do much about these fires. You would, fight them a little bit better. Maybe it wouldn't have taken up, it wouldn't have been quite as combustible, but you get what I'm saying, right? Right now, California looks like all out Armageddon with water and firefighter shortages, mass looting, and this just in, pyromaniacs are now jumping into the chaos. So homeless folks, that's something that I cover. I cover a lot of drug addicted homeless folks, right? They love fire. They love fire. It's something fun to watch. Catch something on fire. Hey, this makes my drug trip just all the better. They use it to stay warm. Gets cold outside. You're living in a tent. They use it to cook. They use it to light their drugs on fire, to vaporize their drugs, get it in, inhalable content and all that good stuff. So fire is an integral part to the homeless community, specifically the drug addicted community, right? And anybody living outside. And, you can look through any data on fire department. What percentage of your calls are going towards the homeless community? A large percent. How many millions of dollars Seattle Fire Department, Seattle Police spend just millions and millions and millions of dollars dealing with crazy nut jobs on drugs, setting stuff on fire. Fires happen all day long. Explosions are not that uncommon. Closing down the freeway because you got a bunch of nut jobs running around. These are the end results of when you have this misguided compassion. Let's just let them run around. What could go wrong? Well, maybe they set these fires. Who knows? We don't know, and we probably won't know for a while, nor will we probably get to the bottom of this. Well, it looks like it was natural causes. Somebody set a spark somewhere. Something did something, right? Power line went down, set up a spark, didn't have enough clearing going on. Santa Monica, a group of arsonists was even caught on camera setting fires. Arsonists caught on camera setting fires in Santa Monica. I mean, you've literally got this nonsense going on, right?
We're at 302 Pico, and people are lighting fires. You can see they lit a fire. These guys, not all the people there, but some of those guys lit that fire, and these guys they're actually
I'll just see what happens.
Caught fire, and then the palms are catching fire. So it's amazing lighting fire.
So any one of those sparks goes up when you've got 100-mile-an-hour wind. Yeah. I mean, all bets are off, right? This is not outside the, reason. This could totally have happened. And with the number of fires that the homeless community sets, I mean, you hear about it all the time. So it's one more thing. It's one more example of political leadership where you've got this misguided compassion, and the folks that, constituents that vote these folks into office time and time and time again, you got to keep these people, these nut jobs that are lighting these fires, you got to keep them out of, away from society, because this is literally what can happen. I can't help but think this is arson. Okay, so this one, I'm a no-go, right? So you got, skips over a house. All right, so it does. Didn't catch everything on fire. Get that one house down below. So it must have been arson. That's a stretch. No, I'd say I'd be a hard no-go on that. There's a lot of random stuff that happens with fires. It's just like in Maui, right? It's not climate change. It's democratic mismanagement. It's Democrat mismanagement. Well, some of this stuff has been, and it's been well documented. And how gruesome Newsom will come out of this, I don't know. One of my thoughts is I used to talk a lot about how all the Republicans have to do in 2028 is just show a montage of homeless encampments, and you could throw in homeless encampments exploding, with all the drugs and the stolen goods and all the crime and just a horrific look. And then you just, intermingle that with some of the wildfires, just decimating communities. You're just going to be able to play clips like that because a lot of folks are going to blame Gavin Newsom and some of his policies. The optics are not good. The optics are not good. Watching California burn to ash makes you wonder, are those the final days for the land of fruit and nuts? It all feels so biblical, but we're not making light of this hellish situation. It's gut-wrenching to watch people lose everything. It's horrific. It's terrible. Sadly, one thing is clear. Elections have consequences and you get what you vote for. That's what a lot of folks are saying about California. I mean, Trump called this. Joe Rogan called this. Insurance companies called this. I mean, they've been pulling out of California in these, high-risk fire areas, wildfire areas for a long, long time. And some of that has to do with straight up mismanagement by political leadership in California. This misguided notion that we are really helping people out here. Meanwhile, insurance companies just leave left and right. Adam Carolla says the caravan of homeless RVs will be back on Pacific Coast Highway before residents can pull a permit to think about rebuilding their $20 million homes. Hard to argue. Let's see what Adam Carolla says here.
Who lost their $20 million homes on the ocean side of PCH will be knee deep in the permit process. They will be trying to pull permits when the guys in the Winnebagos will have been back for months before those guys ever get a permit.
100% true.
Good luck. Because here's the deal. Alan Hamill and Suzanne Summers moved because they could not get a permit to rebuild their home of 40 years on the ocean on PCH, right? So here's what's going to happen. Let me just give you guys a little primer of what's going to happen. You know how Bill Maher seems real conservative now when he's like arguing with Jane Fonda about regulations, too many regulations, like strangling everything? Because remember, when Bill Maher tried to put solar in his house in Beverly Hills, that's when he turned against the government, because he saw what the government and the overreach of government and overregulation does. He got strangled. It took him 3 years to build a solar shack. He had a whole countdown on his show, day 1,000 since I've got my permit for my solar. He turned. Okay. The people who live in Malibu, who live in Santa Monica, who live in the Palisades, those are some of the most progressive blue voters in the world, or in the United States. They are a bastion of blue. So what those guys did is, all the people in the Palisades, I checked it out. It's about 80% blue, 80% progressive, 80% Democrat. Now, these pussies are all sitting around crying about Karen Bass, water pressure. How come the forest wasn't cleared of all the brush? What's happening with the infrastructure? You guys all voted for Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. You all voted for Gavin Newsom. And now you get what you get. Oh, now that your house is on fire, well, now you're thinking about something else. Now you want to know what's going on. What's going on around?
It's like, what's the definition of a conservative? Well, it's a liberal who's just been mugged. Oh, public safety. It's a thing. We need to look into that. Oh, Republicans have been screaming about that forever, right? My house is on fire. I just lost my house. We need to do something about the regulations to rebuild this home. And I don't have insurance. How come? Weird, right?
Down here. You didn't give a shit about what was going on when other people's houses were on fire, but now you care. So here's what's going to happen. All these deep blue Democrats are now going to have to pull a permit to rebuild. And they're going to get the 28-year-old bitch from the Coastal Commission telling them to go f*** off. And then they're going to vote for Trump or whoever's Trumpian next. You see, they're going to get turned. They're going to get turned hard because, as I've always said, live in the rent control.
You know, I want to say Elon Musk got turned because one of his kids got basically taken by the trans community. Influenced, whatever you want to say. Bill Maher, he has been blue-pilled. I mean, red-pilled, right? I mean, he literally still claims he votes for Kamala Harris, but everything else coming out of his mouth, it sounds like a Republican. How about Zuck? How about Zuckerberg from Facebook? That guy is going down, we're going to get rid of this. We're going to do this. We're going to open up free speech. And some of that, I think, came because the Biden administration hammered on Facebook, Meta, so hard that he's like, whoa, governmental overreach. Yeah, we're going to do something else here. So you got all these major folks. There's a reason why they have turned.
Apartment in Santa Monica, fine. Good. We know how you vote. Go deal with the city. Try to pull a permit. These are going to be thousands of homes, super wealthy people, and these people don't want to live in Van Nuys. They like it where they are. They love Malibu. They love the Palisades. They love Santa Monica. There's going to be a whole bunch of rich people, and they're going to go, I'm rebuilding, and I want to rebuild as fast as I can. And between the part where they go in to planning commission and plan check and initially and try to pull a permit to the time the first load of lumber, the first load of 2x4s is dropped off on their lot where their house formerly stood, it's going to be 3 years and 1,000.
3 years. 3 years. And that's if they don't have a complex home to rebuild, right? That's going to have to go through all of this oversight and, just all of this crazy engineering. And half these things are on hillsides, and you got environmental concerns. You got all kinds of craziness.
Permits and 1,000 arguments and 1,000 discussions with the Coastal Commission. Not to mention little tidbits that they didn't think about, like Carson Daly. You want a swimming pool? Yep. Got to be double hulled. Really? Yeah. Well, why? Well, what if water leaches out and gets into the groundwater table? Carson Daly had to build a swimming pool like a modern day oil tanker. Had to put like a double hulled. That's all right. It'll just cost $500,000 for a swimming pool. Like that, they're going to be, when they start getting the regulation, they're going to go nuts. And when they start running into the bureaucracy and the red tape, they're going to start going nuts, and they're going to vote for Rick Caruso next time because they want to get, that's all Trump says is we're going to pull back the regulations. We're going to free people up. They're going to find out. They're going to get bit by their own snake. They're going to convert. I am telling you, these are the bluest people on the planet, and they're going to be ripshit pissed when the city and the Coastal Commission tell them to f off. And by the way, I don't think the Coastal Commission is going to okay anyone rebuilding any of their houses on the coast because they say they're in the business of protecting the coast. They're in the business of getting you to leave. They will get their wish, which is no buildings, and they're going to make it hard for everyone. And then we're going to have to restructure the whole thing because we can't have 9 angry lesbians controlling everything that goes on in Malibu, the Palisades, and Santa Monica.
Adam Carolla is not wrong from the standpoint of what is going to take normal folks years and years and years to get their home back together. You're going to have people in those RVs just living down by the river. But in this case, it's down on the ocean, oceanside living without the cost. That is going to happen all day long because California can't control their homelessness. So Gavin Newsom was just on a big homelessness roll because he's trying to clean things up. And we've got the Olympics coming to Los Angeles. The Olympics are coming to Los Angeles. That should work out fine. Speaking of Adam Carolla, did you know that he once applied to be a firefighter in LA and had to wait 7 years? Yes, 7 years. Let's since we're on the topic and we've got Adam Carolla, this is a pretty great story. Whether or not this is true, I don't really know, but it's entertaining.
I want to talk about my white privilege so badly. I graduated North Hollywood High with a 1.7 GPA. I could not find a job. I walked to a fire station in North Hollywood. I was 19. I was living in the garage of my family home. My mom was on welfare and food stamps. And I said, can I get a job as a fireman? And they said, no, because you're not black, Hispanic, or a woman. We'll see in about 7 years. And I went to a construction site and dug ditches and picked up garbage for the next 7 years. I got a letter in the mail sent to my father's house saying, your time has come to do the written exam for the LA Fire Department. I took it and I was standing in line and I had a young woman of color standing behind me in line. And I said, just out of curiosity, when did you sign up to become a fireman? Because I did it, or a person, 7 years ago. And she said, Wednesday. That is an example of my white privilege. It's
Oof. Yeah. Does that make sense? Absolutely. This is Los Angeles. And you've seen the statements. If you've been following the fires at all, you've seen the statements of, some of the things that their fire officials have said. And you're like, okay, yeah, all right. DEI didn't earn it. As the city of Los Angeles burns down to the ground, thanks to a laundry list of failures from California's progressive leaders in quotation marks, LGBTQ DEI fire chief is now complaining about a firefighter shortage. Maybe she's forgotten that during the COVID pandemic hysteria, hundreds of brave heroes were suspended or fired for refusing to take the dangerous jab. That happened. 113 LA firefighters removed from duty without pay for failing to meet city's vaccination mandate. You got that. You've got the DEI hires. You've got Karen Bass, mayor of LA, off in Ghana. You've got Gavin Newsom doing God knows what. He's not able to come up with an answer, why water wasn't in a reservoir. Instead, he goes with, and the fact that, firefighters were coming up to fires and they've got no pressure on their hoses. Some of that's explained by just the magnitude of these fires. Other points are basically you've got mismanagement going on. You've got some major mismanagement going on. But Gavin Newsom couldn't even really give a response to a mom whose kid had just lost their school. Instead, he's like, I'm on the phone with trying to get a hold of the president, but we've got no cell service out here. See that one? So whenever fires like this ignite, the left jumps at the chance to push their climate change agenda. But the truth is a massive number of California fires are actually caused by humans, discarded cigarettes, careless campfires, and arson. And the reason these fires spiral out of control and spread like, wildfire, pun intended, is due to mismanagement from radical liberals like Gavin Newsom. As President Trump so artfully pointed out, Newsom seems to care more about some random fish than actual human beings. Yeah, Trump had a lot to say on that, right? Fresh water flowing into California. He absolutely nailed this one. As far as talking about this. And when he was talking about this a while ago, I was like, what? What do we do? Oh, fires, forest fires. This is impacting things. This last one here is, none of this is funny. People are losing their lives. They're losing their homes. They're losing their pets. They're losing their way of life. Horrific. But there's also an element of, this is what you voted in. The policies that you're experiencing the end result of, these didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Somebody put these in place. So unfortunately, what folks are working with is a little bit of nature. Yeah, 100-mile-an-hour winds. Okay, you want to blame that on McDonald's because big corporations are, you got to blame them for all the climate crisis issues. Okay, this last one here. As much as they need, we got foreign aid, just a spigot of foreign aid going to Ukraine, Israel, everywhere else. DEI's got the big, fire from Karen Bass. Endless funding for DEI with a big rainbow of water coming out. Then you got the 4 firefighters here with fighting an actual fire, no water. no water. That is going to be some of the, some of what you're not going to be able to somehow smooth over. Hey, how come there wasn't enough water? Why wasn't water pressure a thing? Oh, because we got this. But the end image that folks will remember is firefighters showing up and they've got no water and got no pressure. You're going to have explanations of, yeah, when a fire rips through a community, all the water is left running and you got to go back and turn each one. Okay. Yeah. But you got some other issues going on there as well, right? I mean, some known quantities like the reservoir that's been closed for, repair. Yeah. A lot of this is straight up mismanagement. And so it comes back to you've mismanaged California in such a way that it's got the most homelessness in the United States. And it's not out of reason to think that, homeless people lit some fires. It happens all the time. Big winds carry those sparks. You betcha. Do we know what happened? We don't know anything at this point, right? I mean, somebody does. But they're not going to say for a while because it's going to take a while to get through all this. Meanwhile, these fires are still going. When you see these reports and you're like 0% contained, wasn't it 0% contained like 3 days ago? Yes, it was. Now I think it's 11 and 15 or something like that with the two bigger fires, something along those lines. But the whole homelessness issue, absolutely. It wouldn't shock me at all. And indeed, just one more thing where the optics of leadership in California have allowed this to happen, just like Seattle does, just like Oregon does, just like Portland does. And this is the end result of that misguided compassion, letting everybody live wherever, do all the drugs they want, steal all the stuff they want. It's all good. Now, not so much. Not so much. Crazy times, right? Yeah, absolutely mind-numbing. Like, what? All right, that's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. Catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.